Right, quiet on set. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Let's Poddy podcast with your host, Benji Weatherly. It's the podcast where you learn absolutely nothing.
I want to take a minute to thank Let's Poddy's newest sponsor, Ponto Footwear. I can't think of a better shoe to take me through my day here in SoCal. The Ponto Pacific fits like a sneaker, but looks more like a dress shoe. I can wear them from the golf course, to a business meeting, even to the bar. They're slip-resistant, water-resistant, and perfect for everyday wear. Use our code PODDY15 for 15% off your order at pontofootwear.com. All right. Let's Poddy with my co-host and producer, Annie Graziano.
What's up, everybody? We got Benji.
Benji. We're doing a little recap on season 2. We're halfway through, I would say. I mean, we don't really have...
Not even.
We're like a quarter way.
Like a quarter of the way through.
But what a banger we've already had. We started out with, is it Greg Browning was first?
Yeah, we had Greg Browning first.
I'm an asshole. And that's why I'm such a good character on the drive-thrus, because I'm the guy that everyone hates.
Well, like, I think that was the whole thing is when you come up with something new, nobody knows what it's going to be. And
you guys were on a bus for a month. When you broke it down to 2 weeks.
No idea. But that was a learning thing. Like we knew, like, hey, a month is too long. We could do it in 2 weeks, and then it would be like anybody's normal vacation.
Imagine Kelly on a bus for a month with you. At like day 3, you're like, get me. I mean,
hey, but he's
so chill. He always comes through for us, man.
In Italy, really that was that moment where, like, known him for a long time at that point, but for where he was at in his career, chasing world titles, and then like that shot of all like 9 of you guys in that little motorhome,
it was all
insane.
Season 2, where'd it go? Oh, I had Taylor Knox.
We did have Taylor Knox. Yeah, Taylor Knox was the second.
It's a 7-hour surgery. The doctor's like, you're the worst case I've ever seen. And I'm like, what do you mean worst case? What do you mean? What does that mean? He goes, you're 1 second away from being paralyzed from the waist down. Like, I can't even believe you're standing up. We got to do emergency surgery. And I'm like, what? I just made the nationals for the first time. I was like, can we just wait like 2 months and I could start?
I do remember this because you were just blowing up. And that's why I thought it was a car accident, because you had to get this gnarly surgery. And you're riding for OP, I think, right?
Yeah. I was on the national team. We're all sponsored by OP.
Oh, is that
Bonnie Glove? Yeah.
But you were the guy, and I remember that. And that's what makes this story so great. And that's why when you have a little injury and you think, oh, I can't do this with my life and stuff, that's why I've not to be corny, but your story is so inspiring, because not only did you start as a surfer that I was always like, I don't know about his style. It's a little bit jerky and this and that. And when you got on Rusty, and me and Taylor Steele are, he's the most honest guy in the world that is to a default.
Yeah.
He'll make you feel bad. But I'm a dick too.
And he'll laugh.
He'll be like, hey, you used to be shitty.
You know what? You suck. But hey, you're a nice guy.
But we talked about it, and it was a weird turn of events, because I wrote for Rusty too. And so did Kalani. We all were like, Rusty was the shit. And you came out of nowhere and signed this big deal with Rusty. And it was right when Taylor's movies. It was Momentum 2, I think, right?
Yeah.
And you went from like a guy that obviously we all were like, fuck, he's such a great surfer. And then all of a sudden, I want to know where you went. Did you go to Mexico? Did they shoot fucking something into your dick? I don't even know. I want to know what happened, because all of a sudden you got your body. It was probably healing from all your stuff and whatever your training was, but your style changed. And it became really, really... one of the best ever, and it was incredible, because I've never seen it happen before. Taylor Knox.
Taylor was super rad.
And one of my oldest friends. I don't mean oldest as an age, but we've known each other forever, and that was a great conversation. And like one of the greatest San Diego athletes of all time. He's a jock, and he's one of my favorite people. Then we went into the mayor.
No, we had Steve Sherman next.
Oh yeah, Steve.
Which that was funny, because I had maybe heard his name a couple times before the podcast, but since it's aired, I swear I see his name pop up everywhere. Like, I'll see surf photos, and I'll be like, photo by Steve Sherman.
It's T. Sherms.
T. Sherms.
Yeah. Yeah, we had him. He was a photographer that has been taking black and white photos of the whole Momentum generation and Pearl Jam and all kinds of cool stories that we went through with him. What else? We had, right after him, I had the mayor of Encinitas, I think.
No, next was Lily Miola.
I just love that I don't remember anything, and that's why this review is so fun, because now I'm actually finding out what I did.
They all blend together after
Yeah.
a while. I've looked at them twice as much as you have, because once for the shooting, once for the editing, and I still can't even remember.
There you go.
I'm looking at our list.
She's just trying to make me feel good.
episodes.
But yeah, Lily Miola is, I mean, her name is a flower, and that she's the closest thing to a human flower. Tell me the first time Willie's like, you sing? And then you sang in front of Willie effing Nelson? Come on. Well, how did it work?
So it's a funny story, actually. Our families obviously were friends at this point, and Annie is Willie's wife. She, would sometimes drag him to my shows.
And Willie showed up at your concert? I mean, at
I
your
know,
gig?
I know.
That's
Well,
got
it's
to
like
be
this little cafe.
nerve-wracking.
It's really
I know.
homey, It's like playing in your living room. It's like a super chill vibe. And he came in and sat in. We sang Crazy together. And then at the
Sat
end
in
of
with
this,
a 15-year-old Lily. There's got to be footage of this, please. God.
I think that there might be. I'll try and find
he's
some
so
for you.
cool.
I was so bad, too.
Oh, what were you
I was
singing,
really
covers?
bad. Yeah, I was singing covers.
Oh, you
And
said you're
songs
singing
that-
Crazy?
Yeah, we sang Crazy together. That's
so
what we
cool.
did that one night.
Greatest human. She's just starting to find her way in the music industry, but she's been doing it since she was a little kid in Maui. And cool thing about her is she's basically part of Willie Nelson's family. Like she's on tour with him right now. On his 90th birthday, she got to play with Willie on his 90th birthday in front of giant crowds. Just an amazing woman, great story, and so lucky to have her and to get to watch her career just blossom. Not to like make fun of flowers, but
very flower-centric episode. And next is obviously the one that's on your mind with Mayor Tony Kranz.
Tony Kranz, the only political podcast in my history that'll ever happen, probably. And it was not political at all. I just wanted to, I just wanted to be about absolutely nobody and absolutely nothing and absolutely this or that and just be super random. And he's a, old surfer from the 70s in Encinitas and has a cool story and was accepting of the offer to get on the Poddy. And do you get in the water and mess around with that? Is that part of your deal?
I don't get in the water as much as I'd like to. I surfed as a kid, but have not been on a board in a very, very long time.
That was the 60s. Did you go out at Moonlight and all those spots?
Moonlight, that's where I had my first surf session. My mom bought me a Sunset surfboard when I was a kid, and so she took me out in the middle of October, and the ocean was rough, but I was having my first opportunity to surf on my own surfboard. Spent a couple of years surfing pretty heavily, but got into working full-time for my dad, and so didn't have a whole lot of time to surf anymore. But, Surfy and JP St. Pierre, he's a great guy, one of our, capitalists that really makes a big difference in Encinitas. He's been pretty focused on keeping our community great. He's a lifelong Encinitas guy.
What a cool dude, He has a printing company, and he runs the town that I love more than anything.
He was part of the National Guard, too.
Right?
Which I remember when he said that, we both were kind of like, hey,
Okay.
hold on, what?
Yeah, and he's worked in the city for a long time as a city council, and the next natural step was to take over as mayor. And it's a city that just keeps getting more and more popular over time since I've been there, opening a restaurant there in a few months, and just a great community. Ra Machado should be the mayor, but luckily he's too busy making acai bowls and doing air still. So
Yeah, perfect. And then next we had John Ashworth.
John Ashworth is
So
somebody, he's somebody that in the golf industry is a pioneer, but like one of the greatest people. So like Fred Couples is the Tom Curran of golf. And he was Freddie Couples' partner and Ashworth Clothing in the late 80s, early 90s, super successful. He actually was at the Masters that Freddie Couples won wearing his clothes, which I thought, as a golf geek that I am, that was like one of the coolest stories to hear. And then after that, he went and teamed up with Quicksilver, started Phaedra. Phaedra is another really popular brand with Ernie Els and Slater. And then he went into what his new thing is now, is he owns... Where he's from, he owns the public course that was called Goat Hill, and it's one of the most ghetto courses ever. But he revised it and he's the guy out there shoveling dirt every day and, you know, planting grass and doing everything under the sun to make that place beautiful. And then he started Link Soul, which Link Soul now is the number one, like, I would say Southern Cal golf attire. They sponsor all big time pros, and yeah, he's so down to earth, and he's just an amazing guy. So he was one of my mainstays when I wanted to do season 2. Is like, I want to bring golf into it, and I want John Ashworth, and we got him.
And again, I got into the clothing business kind of because I hated the way golf clothes were back then.
Yeah.
And
they were horrible.
They were horrible, and I also knew that because they were so horrible was why golf kind of had a bad reputation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Judge Smails was what everyone looked like.
So my whole
no disrespect to
my whole aim and goal in life was to try to make golf cool, so people could understand that it was really cool. You weren't a nerd if you played golf. You know,
I know.
So.
Took that one guy from L.A. Long Beach to really go like, hold my beer, Tiger Woods.
Yeah, John was super rad, and you should tell the people about the story you told me about after it released.
Oh yeah,
John
cute
told
story,
you.
John. John will like to hear this again because it was I think it was his first podcast. We just finished Donovan's, and he divulged that was his first podcast ever. That kind of blew my mind. But yeah, he was in Japan doing work for his company, came back, and I get a phone call. And John's one of those people that's not exactly calling you. You know what I mean? Like a lot of successful and, you know, a lot of these action sports stars and stuff, you're not getting phone calls. So when the phone rings, you're like, whoa, something is either really good or really bad. And he calls and he's all giddy and he goes, I got a funny story to tell you. And I'm like, what's up? And he goes, I got home from Japan, out golfing my golf course, and these two like 14, 15-year-old kids are in the fairway across from me, and they're with their parents. And he says, you know, and he's the host and the sweetest guy. So he just rolls up to him. Hey guys, how you doing today? And you could see the frustration on these kids' faces because the balls were going sideways. He knew it was their first time ever golfing. So he wanted to just kind of check in. And the first thing they said is, oh man, we're listening to this podcast, and we heard about this course from John Ashworth on the Benji Weatherly podcast. And he goes, what? He goes, you did? And they're like, yeah, we just felt like, you know, why wouldn't we try golf? So we're out here trying it out. And he was so tickled because this is a man that, you know, I mean, he wants to bring golf to the masses and especially the youth. And to have these kids say, and the coolest part about it is obviously they just listened to it because they did not recognize him at all. And they're telling John, hey, we heard about this guy, John Ashworth, that owns this golf course. And he's like, I'm John. He's like, that's me. And it really tickled him, and it tickled me to death, the fact that these kids that were probably just surfers. I mean, when I say just, they were probably surf kids, and they're listening to my random potty, and they're like, you know what, this guy John Ashworth has a cool story, and this place is right down by, you know, our house, so let's go check it out. And the fact that they were so horrible because it's their first day out there, and they meet the owner and not the guy that was on the podcast, just really, really made me feel like we're doing something cool.
Yeah, I thought that was so awesome.
So cool.
It's always cool to like hear about the actual fans, because, you know, we see the numbers, we know people are listening, but to actually see people that are like, oh yeah, I listened to this episode of Let's Potty, like,
it's so fun.
it just makes like,
it makes it worthwhile.
That's why we're doing it,
right?
You know?
And the thing is we don't want anything out of it. That's why it's so rewarding. I think the fact that you have an amazing job and I'm doing other things, and we do it as a side project, but I think that's when stuff works. Like just Donovan right there telling us, like, this is my very first podcast. It's like, dude, you're on the road 260 days a year, and you've never done a podcast. Like, seems weird, but yeah, I'm having a blast doing it.
Oh, same. And then we had Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk. Wow, we've had a good season.
That was, I mean, I feel like that's obviously
that was the
fan
pinnacle.
favorite.
That was our pinnacle so far. Yeah, he showed up in a spaceship car. It had like lights underneath it, and, like laser beams coming off it, and it was cool to see the level of fame that he has from skateboarding. Like the two gardeners that we had in our facility where our offices are. One of the guys like, Tony Hawk, when I'm trying to talk to him, and this guy's screaming across the pavilion. And he's like, oh my God. He's running over there and he's just freaking out. And Tony's like, yeah, whatever, man. And he's such a just normal guy, you know? And that's why the interview was so fun, because I've known him for, I don't want to date myself, but I had to have known him for 25, 30 years. And to see the literally his career started high, and then it went down. In the 90s, it wasn't getting no sponsors, and vert skating went to literally to the side of street skating to where it was like almost obsolete.
We had no clothing sponsor.
Oh my God, this is
we had no money either, and we were like 10 items. Like, what about this snowboard jacket? He's like, yep,
get it.
Like,
you got all
dude, that's
shit.
one item. Like, that's so sick.
I know surfers were spoiled with apparel for sure at those days, but you guys were kind of in limbo. I remember because I mean, obviously, if you're writing for our company at that point, that shit's getting weird. Like Rusty clothing. That was a Rusty surfboard company.
And also at one point, well, so surfing was still on the rise. So this is 93, 94-ish. At one point, I'll never forget, PT handed me, I think like $1,000, and he's like, "This is for you guys' tour," and I was just like, "What, dude? Like, we don't have to."
God, those are the days, though.
Basically, it was like we don't have to all share a room.
Oh my God!
Every time.
Now it's $1,000 a night for a hotel room.
Oh
so
yeah, for sure. But it was like every other night we got 2 rooms thanks to Rusty.
Well, but that's so cool. Those days, you gotta. I mean, obviously, since then, your life is so different. To see him go and writing for Rusty Surfboards as a sponsor and getting $1,000 so he could buy a hotel room for all the guys, and him excited, and then have him roll up to the podcast in a spaceship that's probably $500,000, and to see the success he's had, and what a just genuinely good person, and he's getting so good in front of the camera in the podcast. I've been listening to his one with Jason Ellis, and they're so good. The fact that when we ended mine, I was like, God, Tony, you're getting really good in front of the camera. And then I realized he has this really famous podcast. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, he does this every day.
He's been doing for years.
Yeah. So that was cool.
That one was super rad for me, especially because so I'm 24. And so I was like the generation that grew up with his
video games.
Yeah. And so Tony Hawk was also like on every, TV show we would watch, whether it was like on Disney Channel or Nickelodeon, whatever. If they wanted to have the random like action sports star cameo, it was always Tony Hawk. Like that was the guy. And so like I haven't like I try to be pretty good about not being like starstruck in front of our guests or anything like that, keeping it professional. But that was the one that I told a few of my friends that he was coming on, and they freaked out. They're like, "Oh my God, you're gonna meet Tony Hawk. That is the coolest thing I've ever heard."
That's
and
so cool.
he's just one of the most genuine, like down to earth human beings, especially for how famous he is. Like he's a household name, and like it seems like somebody's dad that you'd see at the skate park, like teaching him how to skate. Like he's so rad.
And it just shows you how much of in his soul as a hardcore skateboarder is that he broke his femur. Am I right? It was something crazy.
One of those big bones.
He broke the crap out of his leg. And he was back a few months later trying to skate. Then he re-injured it, had to get the pins taken out, redone. And I look on Instagram every day now, and he's like a year out of the gnarliest break ever. And he's still doing huge airs on the vert ramp, skating with that little girl. That's amazing. Doing you can see the love that he has for the sport. And it's easy to fall out of love of a sport that literally breaks your bones, he's literally broke his femur, and he's like, I'm 52 years old or however he was, and he's like, I'm back out there. So it was neat to see it's not just for money for him, and it was never about it. And that's why I think the action sports, that's why when I have all these guys on, we have mutual respect for each other, because we know what it took, and we know what it takes to keep going. And he's the GOAT of skating, really.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And then one of our like 2 most recent episodes, we had Colby Raha, who that was really fun because he's a friend of mine, so it was great to bring him on the podcast. And
did you overshoot or undershoot?
No, I just jumped too short by like 10 feet, but since I came up short, it's this weird thing, like catapulted me forward, and it threw me like way down the hill, and I landed and just tumbled down this huge steep landing, but what's crazy is I was mic'd up, so like they had me mic'd up the whole time, so you can hear everything I say like the whole way to the hospital. And I was calm the whole time, and was just talking about, I think I broke my pelvis and all that. You'll see in the movie, it's really gnarly, but
yeah, that was definitely your guy, which really was fun and exciting. Like we had in the first season, we had your ex-boss that you work for Crystals. Her name was Heather
Askinosi.
Askinosi.
Energy Muse.
Hello.
Oh yeah, Benji's repping the Energy Muse right now.
I always kiss it, and it's the perfect little gem that it's. I don't know if it's a placebo or what, but it helps me, so that's all that matters. But anyway, we had her on because of Annie's connections and understanding of how much more we need on the women's side and how much more we need of diversity.
We're still working on that.
Yes, we're gonna have. I promise you, we're getting a girl next.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was cool to have that. But Colby is someone you've always talked about. She films his movies, doing Moto X, freestyle. And I love when I don't know him. Like Chris Shiflett, I met a couple times in celebrity events, but I didn't know him. And so when he came in, I like being nervous. I like wanting to find out about these incredible people. So Colby, when we before we started it, you're like, hey, don't ask this and do this and all this stuff. And I'm like, don't you have to worry. Like this is gonna be so easy because I'm so interested in what this guy is as a human. And right away, boom, so easy. We just turned him on, and he went. And it was such a good podcast. I have some really cool DMs and stuff about that one. One of them is just insane, and it's just cool to see the reaction from all these different genres. Like the skaters giving me little DMs and talking about how cool it is. You have these people on, but Colby has this crazy underground following in a place that I've never even been.
They're not even underground. In that sport, it's a very
what do you call it? The Empire out there? Inland Empire.
Yep.
So like there's that out there, which as a surfer, I've never even been to the Inland Empire. So to see all these DMs and all these people texting me and saying, oh dude, I can't believe you had that guy on. He's so sick. And that was all Annie. And that was kind of where we finally got to bring her in, because my dream is to have her as our co-host throughout every episode. And not only every episode, but if there's a time where I'm in a different country or if I'm, have COVID or whatever, she can do a podcast without me, or vice versa or whatever. We can do it together. And I think as a co-host, that's something I want to bring in. We just did Donovan, and you had a few really good questions. That one question you had about his family was awesome. Yeah,
that was like the first thing I wanted to ask you. Y'all, or I think this will air after the Donovan episode, so you know what it is. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like the way we think about stuff is so different.
I know when you talk to Colby,
so it's perfect.
You're like, hey, Colby, what about this? And I was like, I would have never thought of that. So, and I knew that there would be a common thread with our conversations, but in such a different perspective. Like yours, 24 years old, and I'm not. And
I'm a girl.
And you're a girl. I'm I'm allowed to say who I want to be nowadays, so I wouldn't go that far. But yeah, I think just having someone with your knowledge and your angle. I mean, you know a lot about MMA. That's another thing we're going to try to get. I won't drop names, but we're going after one guy, and then I have a bunch of MMA guys too, and I think that should be one of our next guests.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Maybe even a woman MMA would be dope.
I can definitely. I know a girl I used to train on the same team as, and she's like this super gnarly, like all world jiu-jitsu artist.
Rad.
I don't know if she's still in California, but if she is, we should definitely have her on.
So yeah, I mean that gets us right to where we are today, which was our last guest, and his Donovan Frankenreiter. And Donovan Frankenreiter, for all the people that don't know my history with him, it was a pro surfer from Mission Viejo, in 1990. He stayed at my house when I was like 14. And rode for Billabong for all these years. I shaped him a surfboard when I was 15, and he was really into Indian leaves and stuff. So we have Indian feathers down the side. We painted every one hand, and we just have such you know what? Listening to that podcast that we just finished with him, the reason why I love Donovan more than anybody is how good of a human he is. I mean, he's never been anything but what you just saw.
Yeah, I believe
he's just has the best heart. He's not a creep. He's never been mean to anybody. I've never seen him mad, like mad. He gets silly mad, where he's like, "Oh, let's go," and you're like drives, but you're like laughing at him being mad. But
you're not scared.
Yeah, you're not scared, and you laugh. Like when he's upset, you're like, so nothing but love for that guy. I mean, I told the story about when I made his room in St. Bart's with flowers everywhere for his girlfriend at the time when he was proposing to her. And I could just see his eyes light up when he recalled that whole situation.
It was so cute.
It was fun. we were in St. Bart's in the Caribbean.
That was the
can I tell the
sickest
story?
thing
It's
ever.
okay.
Yeah, it was so cool.
I mean, this is an amazing story. It's
She
one of those
wasn't
ones.
even-
It's not funny.
She wasn't
It's
even my
heartfelt.
fiance. She wasn't even my fiance yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is how it became that. We're on a surf trip, filming a surf movie. We're actually filming the surf movie
for Billabong.
For Billabong with Shane Dorian, Ross Williams, Parco. I mean, Ross, I think, was there. They were all there. And it's the most beautiful island in the world. It's called St. Bart's. It's a French island. And we're all there. And Donnie's like, hey, I'm going to propose to her on this trip. And we're like, what? And me and Parco were the kind of groms on the trip. And he's like, hey, I need you to go down. Here's $1,000. I don't even know how much money it was, or you already paid him or something. Can you get the ring from this guy, Julio? Or I don't even remember. He's down the harbor. We're like, yeah. We had little scooters around this island. And we told Petra, we're at dinner. And we're like, Petra, we got to leave. Me and Parco have to go do some stuff. We fly to his hotel. He had a hotel room. We all stayed on a boat. But that night,
I got one that night. Yeah.
That night. And it was like so expensive there. And he goes, hey, will you go into the hotel room and put roses everywhere and put her name and whatever? I can't remember what we did. But we're these two little idiots on a thing. And then we get there, we get the ring. And I remember putting it in my pocket like, fuck, better not lose this motherfucker. I was like, oh my God, I got this ring, man. This is crazy. And then so we get in this most beautiful harbor you've ever been in your life. It's Puff Daddy mega yachts, and it's gorgeous, right? And we have dinghies to take us out to our boats to go to sleep. And we're already buzzed. We all went to like a beautiful dinner and everything like that. So Donnie's like, we're all going to get in the dinghy, but there wasn't much room in it. So we kind of faked it. And there's a piano bar. So say there's a harbor. In the middle of it is a piano bar. And our boat's out here. And so he goes like this. We had it all planned out. And he always has a guitar. So it wasn't weird that he had a guitar. He has a guitar in the boat. And she gets on. We like lower her down in the boat. I hand the ring to Donnie like this. And he goes, all right, oh, you know what? There's not much room. We'll just go this one with the driver, and we'll meet you guys out there. We're like, yeah, you guys go ahead. Meanwhile, right when they start driving away, she thinks they're going to the boat. We run to the other side of the harbor. We run all the way to the piano bar. We get to the piano bar, and he's in the middle. We can see him out. It's dark, but you can see him. And he sings her a song he wrote to her, which...
the first song I ever wrote.
Oh, it's the first song ever.
On My Mind, yeah. It's
on my mind.
It's on the first record.
Yeah. So he proposes to her, and they're driving in. She's bawling, crying, and we're looking at him going, yes.
Well, you guys were like, what did she say? I'm like 100 yards away. I'm like, yes. And the whole fucking...
It was so cool. And then he pulls up, like a chicken skin again. And we pull up. We walk into the piano bar. She has no idea this is happening. We walk in the piano bar. He sits there for freaking, and it felt like 3 or 4 hours, but it might have been an hour. And we kind of took over this bar, and Donnie's playing the song that he wrote about her on piano.
And I just also want to say, going back to, we were talking about like Inland Empire crossover. So I was at Colby's property, Rawville. I think it was
Explain
2
Rawville
weeks
to
ago.
people that didn't watch Colby.
Yeah, so if you didn't watch the Colby,
How far is that from the town? Like how it looks like it's in the middle of nowhere.
It's like, it is definitely middle of nowhere. It's like 10 minutes from
like a
I forget what the
gas
town is.
station.
It's like Victorville. No, there's like a little residential spot. It's
but like
it's
10
cute.
miles
It's
from
cute.
anything.
But yeah, from anything like super major. But you have to go down Route 66 a long ways, and you're looking at these dilapidated houses on the sides of the road going, wow, I wonder what people did to get here.
And then how did they get out, or did they just die there?
Oh, they're still there. And then you get on this like dirt. You go through this neighborhood. It's cute. Like definitely like not a bad spot to live. And you get on this dirt road. You drive down this dirt road for 10 minutes. There's nothing around except for like you'll see like a little campsite, or like there's driveways that look like places you could turn, but it looks like they go to nothing. And there's like
Breaking Bad.
There's a huge government testing facility next to his property. So you see like the huge
Missiles?
not missiles, the satellites in the distance. And then eventually you come up over this hill and you just see like massive dirt jumps and a huge quarter pipe ramp in the distance. And you turn on, and it's got all the signs that say like professional moto training grounds.
Do people come up and park on the side of the road and watch or anything like that? Is it
No, it's far enough out of the way that
no one even knows when
you're
they're
not
there
gonna.
and stuff.
Yeah, because there's I don't know that he has the address like listed anywhere necessarily. Like it'd be kind of hard.
Does he have a
to
little
figure out
dwelling
what it is.
there, like a little house or a camp
No.
or anything? It
No.
just jumps.
If he's out there for a few days, I think he brings his
Like a tent.
trailer and stuff like that. But when we were out there, one of his sponsors, Claiborne. Do you remember a guy named, I think his name's Joe from Claiborne, skinny guy, long hair.
That sounds super familiar, yeah.
He knew you
Yeah.
because we were all sitting down waiting for wind to die off so they could go jump again. And he was like, oh, Yeah, I saw the episode of Let's Poddy that Colby was on.
Oh, no way.
I was on a trip with Benji when he was 15 when Claiborne used to sponsor him.
No way. That's so cool.
So he knew
That's all
exactly
old,
who
career's
you were.
been. I don't remember, but I totally do. It sounds familiar.
Yeah, so I was kind of hinting. I was like, dude, you want to sponsor the podcast?
I know Claiborne. That's so long time ago. That's so cool.
Yeah,
but-
he was super stoked with everything you got going on.
Oh man, I'm psyched. I know I get a lot of people that come up and say, "Hey, I'm digging on the comedy, keep it going," and I love the pod.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's no more like I saw you doing air. They don't give a crap. That makes it life a lot easier doing this
It's a
kind
new
of stuff.
chapter.
It's so much easier.
different.
You don't have to go worry about those giant man-eating things in the water. Have you seen how many sharks are out there now?
Oh, it's
There's one in
super
Hawaii the
sharky
other
now.
day. It's like 30 feet, and it's just swimming right by El Moana, and I'm like, no thanks. I'm good on getting my legs bit off. I kind of need them for a little bit longer.
Yeah, in California especially has gotten so sharky.
Sharky everywhere. Even Slater, like he tracks everything from swells, wind, everything. And even he texted the other day on the thread. It was like, hey, it doesn't seem like a lot more. It might not even been him. It was one of the boys saying, it doesn't seem like there's a lot more sharks now. And I'm like, I think drones have really screwed everything up for us.
Yeah.
They've always been there probably.
Oh, yeah.
But now we see them. And now I'm like, oh no, like I don't want to see these guys anymore.
Yeah.
Too much, but yeah, it's definitely going to get better and better. You guys stick it out, if you will. I know I talk over everybody. Today I drank so much coffee on the drive up, and right away I was like, I couldn't stop talking. I was like, hold on, Donovan, I'm so sorry. I always do this. I talk over everybody, so I'm still learning, and just bear with me. I'll get better, and I'll drink less coffee before we start.
I think we just need to tell our guests that they can interrupt you and talk
Yeah.
with you.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause I think some of our best episodes are when you're talking about something, you start going on tangents, and I was like, oh.
Okay, hang on.
Hang on. I want to talk about this for a minute. And you're like,
I
oh,
love it.
yeah.
No, I totally agree. I either bring the energy to make it a good podcast, or I over-energize it to where it's like, they got to shut me down. But just bear with me. That's been my personality since I was a kid. But that's why me and Donovan are best friends. It's like his energy and my energy together, we're always just like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But at the end of it, it's just all love. So anyway, hopefully you guys will enjoy the rest of the season. Me and Annie get to go watch the Black Keys, and we're going to go down to the beach festival.
Beach life. It's gonna be
Beach life.
super bad.
And we finally are out of the rain, you know?
Oh my gosh.
Not to sound
Finally.
corny, but it's been rainy here.
I was like actually getting a little depressed for a while. I had my little portable UV light that would shine on me every day while I was working. It just, when you're so used to being out in the sun all the time.
Yeah, you're a Cali girl. You're a SoCal girl.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is, now that when the sun comes out, I'm like, I'm sweating. What is this? Like, what is this stuff? And I'm like, oh, that's what I used to do, sweat.
Oh, no. I'm all about this. I'm trying to get back out to Hawaii.
Oh, you will.
That's my goal.
You will.
Yeah.
You're always
It's just
welcome.
finding time.
Yeah, I know. Well, we're going to definitely start bringing the potty on the road, too. That's definitely in the future because it's the most impressive thing about so far in these 2 seasons is I can't believe we get these people to come all the way. Like, I mean,
Right.
this studio is so far out in the middle of LA. We're out on the coast. I can't even tell you the town.
Colby drove from Colton,
I mean,
which is like San Bernardino.
We had Chris Shiflett come from Malibu. What is that, like 7 hours? Like, I don't even know.
Yeah.
But it's impressive that we've been able to pull this off. So if I start bringing the podcast to them, I know I can just have endless amount of interesting guests.
Oh, yeah.
And
We have one lined up that's for sure going to be our season finale. We just have to make it up.
We might have to actually travel.
NorCal. We're
We
for
might
sure going to have to
travel.
travel, but this one will be so worth it. You guys are going to be so stoked.
Yeah. I mean, the coolest
it'll be
part
rad.
about it is it's going to tie the whole, everybody's involved. And like, I need to get a scientist. I need to get, I really, really want to get a psychologist in and talk about communications and just different things like that I'm interested in. And that might help people like me because for me, I'm at the age now where I'm tired of being depressed or I'm tired of, my brain going in the wrong direction and I want to get better. So not only at the podcast, but in life. So I might start bringing some self-help in, if you will. I know it sounds opposite of my silly ass usually, but yeah, I wanted to have diversity. And obviously we're lacking on the women. Let me count the women. We've had 3.
Coco,
3
Heather,
girls. And
Lily.
3.
3.
We had 3 and we had like 14 guys. So let's tip
It's
the
time.
scale.
It's time to get the girl power on the
Gosh,
potty.
yeah, I think I'm gonna guarantee you guys we're gonna work way harder on that. And now that I have a beautiful girl that is the podcast, and if ever I need to have diversity, I have it.
Yeah.
So
There
I
you go.
planned this I planned it ahead. Yeah,
I may take over an episode or two.
I would love
in
it.
the future.
Yeah, if I'm on the road or do anything like that, you could easily get in front of it and just be like, okay, this time you're going to hear the guest.
Yeah. And also, like, just guest-wise or, like, we're open to any, I don't know, whatever you guys want. So if there's something, like a person that you really want to see on the podcast
hit us
or any constructive criticism, DM us at Let's Poddy on Insta, and it'll probably be me answering. But, like, yeah, we'll make stuff happen. We want like it to be interesting for us. We also want it to be interesting for everybody that listens.
Right. And I think it'd be cool to have fans that have input and then do something cool for them and they can actually get what they want. I know that in the future that we should definitely bring in less musicians. I'm just kidding. It has been. It's
We've
all
had a
become.
lot of musicians.
It's become a musician.
They
podcast.
asked to come on the podcast.
I know.
So we're going to say no.
Yeah, it's kind of funny to find out that most of the people in my life that I've become close to and been affected by are musicians. So, and it is ironic that I don't play any instruments. And I'm horrible at singing, so I don't know where this all came from. I was lucky enough to have these hookups to get us backstage passes to Black Keys and do all these fun things with Metallica.
I'm so excited.
And thanks Ponto Footwear for helping us out and being our very first sponsor. And yeah, I mean, we're doing it. We're getting through it, and it'll get better. Just stick with us. And now that I have a co-host that's a lot smarter and a lot younger, maybe it'll get even more interesting. So stay tuned for the next one. The next Monday, we got Donnie.
Yeah. So it'll be when you're listening to this.
Sorry, this is coming out.
This is after. So it'll be Donovan.
I have
and
dyslexia.
then, like, the best part about this is we don't like plan anything out in advance. So as of right now, we have no idea who's going to be on next.
I know, that's so true.
We'll just start hitting people
tonight.
People get
I'll ask
stoked.
all the
It's
band
great.
members on stage. I'll be like, "Hey, you want to do a podcast next week?"
We're just going to go around to everybody that seems cool at Beach Life and be like, come on the podcast.
Maybe we do
and
a
they'll be like,
behind the
for sure.
scenes podcast at the event. We're just throwing mics in their face. They're like, "Come on, enjoy the music." I'm like, "Hey, what do you think about the rain we've been having?" They're like, "Shut the fuck
Great way
up."
for us to get kicked out of
Yeah,
Beach Life.
exactly.
That'll be the podcast.
I don't think I want to be the irritating, annoying guy at the concert. I want to be in the back and have a VIP bathroom to pee every 5 minutes because I have.
They do have those.
I know.
We do have those.
Yes. So, anything else you want to say about the upcoming and already post stuff?
Just say, like, I'm the one doing the production, but from a production side, it's really cool to see, like, kind of how we've progressed and how we've gone back and forth. And, like, you'll be like, I'm kind of thinking, we want the videos to look a little more like this, or we want this, or I want you to ask, like, have a couple questions prepared for each episode or whatever it is. So it's really cool to, like, kind of
Get better at stuff.
Yeah, get better and just see how this all morphs and changes from, it's like every 3 episodes or so, there's like something slightly different if anyone picks up on it.
Yeah, we officially figured out, and it was on Tony's podcast, I want to say, that the mic has to be in your face.
Yeah, if you're not basically like making out with the mic the whole time, it's not going to work.
Yeah, so that's our biggest accomplishment so far is we figured out that we had to get different mics stands and put them next to our mouth so the audio, because we realized 99% people don't even watch it, they just listen. So we stopped with the nonsense, and I don't know if Tony pulled it into his face, but that was the one where I was like,
I backed it up into his face.
You're
I was like,
get this audio.
because everyone always, like, when they sit down, they're like kind of leaning forward into the mic more, and then as they get more comfortable in the episode, they start leaning back, and then by the end of it, the mic is way too far away from him. So I just told Tony when he sat down, I was like, okay, just lean back. And he's like, okay. And he leans back, and I shoved it straight in his face. And
It
I
worked,
could see at first he was like, okay, this thing's right up in my mouth. But
It worked.
it came
And
out
now
great, and it
looks
got
right.
comfortable.
Like
and it was
I've watched Rogan like every single day, and I realized, this is what they do. They put it in their mouth.
It just is.
That sounds weird. But yeah, you guys, thanks for watching the last 2 seasons, and I hope you guys are proud of the fact that we haven't quit and that we plan on getting better every time. So yeah, thanks for watching and listening, and hope you guys are going to be fans for a while.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Got
Annie, for
more fun
everything
stuff.
too. She's the one who puts in the hard work. I just make people uncomfortable. That's it. That's all I do.
I mean, that's a big part of it.
Yeah, of course. You
make them uncomfortable and then make them comfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the best
At the beginning,
part.
I don't let them talk. I'm like, and then at the end, I'm like, and then I'm
I love seeing like the videos. You can see like the people that don't know you as well. They'll come in and they're a little hesitant. It's like, oh, that's a lot of personality.
That's a lot coming out.
And then like by the end of it, they're like matching your energy,
totally.
which is
Colby
awesome.
did so good.
Oh,
because
yeah.
he seemed so reserved, and then as soon as he started telling the story, boom, I was like, okay, I just need to sit back and stay out of the way.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it, and look forward to the next. I don't know. We don't know how many episodes we're gonna do in season 2, but at least
it
another
should be about 25.
25 episodes. So
Yeah.
hopefully you guys text or email in and tell us that you think, anything that we could change, or maybe things that we should do better. I don't know.
Yeah. DM us.
Yes. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Let's potty.